Preparing for pregnancy, this is indeed rarely done. It is strange to find a couple that before trying to get pregnant for the first time has done a reset or gone through a checkup. I did it because I am dedicated to this, but it is strange. So it makes the work much easier when we have already taken a series of steps before trying. Yes, there are women, especially who come to the consultation saying they want to get pregnant, teach me a bit about eating, but above all, I want to stabilize my weight because as we gain during pregnancy, I want it not to be so much. So the issue of weight is something you see a bit more with nutritionists, but the rest is left aside. For both parents, okay, regulating weight, all toxins accumulate in fat. The more body fat percentage we have, the more intoxicated we will be. It is very important to regulate body fat percentage. We need to eliminate all toxins, as I have said, at the liver level, promoting foods that help the liver eliminate toxins accumulated in the body. To reduce inflammation, we are going to emphasize the anti-inflammatory diet a little. It is the basis of all nutrition treatments. The pathology does not matter. Any diet should always be anti-inflammatory. You often come, for example, following ketogenic diets. The ketogenic diet is very good for many pathologies. I have to prescribe this many times, as in all the oncological treatments I do in the consultation. The ketogenic diet is the best, but it has to be an anti-inflammatory diet. We cannot follow a keto diet by eating mainly meats, because in the end, we will increase arachidonic acid, which is a pro-inflammatory fatty acid. So we need to be careful. Fertile nutrition, that is, increasing those nutrients that we already know well, that favor preconception, premenstrual syndrome, regulating cycles. This is super, super important. Are we also used to the idea that menstruation has to hurt, that it has to bother us? Is this normal? No, that's not normal. It's normal because we have become accustomed to it. But ideally, menstruation should be a little bothersome, maybe not, but not those sharp pains or headaches, those mood swings that come to me on different days each time. All of that needs to be regulated. And we are going to see the main causes of why premenstrual syndromes occur. Well, exercise should always be part of the nutritional treatment, even if it's not nutrition, but it is part of the treatments. So in this case, since we need to lower cortisol production, any exercise will help us regulate it, but activities like yoga, Pilates, or meditation are very beneficial. I don't know if you know how to meditate, but it helps me a lot to learn to meditate, and it's something I highly recommend, although it's a bit challenging and takes work. Balancing the immune system is vital. Most autoimmune conditions will cause a defect in fertility, so some are more significant than others, but we need to balance that immune system so that we can get pregnant, to prevent miscarriages, and to avoid promoting diseases in the baby like allergies or dermatitis. And what I was saying, exhaustion is renal. Okay. Anthropometric assessment, as I explained at the beginning, is somewhat the basis of the nutrition consultation, meaning we need to go a bit further. It's not just about weight, but the percentage of fat. Weight is fine, but we need to see what we have inside, right? What percentage of water, what percentage of muscle mass, the proteins we have. So we need to increase that protein percentage because in the end, DNA is protein. It's what we need most for a baby to form. As I was saying, lower the fat percentage within a healthy range to eliminate the accumulation of toxins, taking care to reduce fat. All hormones are liposoluble, and we need a percentage of fat to produce the correct range of hormones. This happened a lot. It happened to me one day. That we emphasize to people who are overweight, but those of us who are very thin, in this case, we almost need to emphasize more because we won't be able to produce that correct hormone balance. And well, if we follow a diet very rich in refined flour, sweets, sugars, and so on, we will produce hyperinsulinemia. So excess insulin completely disrupts the production and balance of hormones. We must keep in nutritional photos that blood sugar must remain stable with no spikes up or down in sugar. Very important, regardless of the diet, we must maintain that stability the liver. One of the main guidelines of treatments, always, no matter which one it is, must be help to cleanse, to reduce inflammation, to align all toxins. The poor liver is rarely not overloaded. I always tell you, it's not that something is happening to your liver, it's at a metabolic level. It just keeps accumulating, keeps accumulating, keeps accumulating. Depending on how we also have the permeability of the intestine, which we will talk a little about later, the liver suffers more or less nowadays. Almost all people who come to the consultation have an increase in that intestinal permeability. If the intestine is excessively separated, the enterocytes, the cells of the intestine, will allow all toxins, all waste to enter the bloodstream, and from there they go to the liver. It is important to help the liver eliminate everything that is altered in the body. So to help the liver, one should reduce the consumption of toxins, medications as much as possible, foods with many additives, many pre-cooked items, many canned goods. Be careful with cans to reduce this intake of toxins. And then increase. Sometimes it is much more about what needs to be increased than what needs to be removed. There are many foods that promote liver detoxification. But well, almost all of them are vegetables. The world of cruciferous vegetables, broccoli and cabbages, all the cabbages, cauliflower, which I don't know if you know it, but anyway, everything in the world of cabbages will greatly favor the detoxification of the liver. Leeks, celery, onion, garlic, you have to see the tolerance, and many times when we have intestinal dysbiosis, an imbalance in the microbiota. Some of these vegetables will produce more gas, more bloating. We need to assess the patient's tolerance to regulate it. Almost always when they come in very intoxicated, some supplementation is given, perhaps even based on plants. I prescribe a lot of boldo and drops, boldo, dandelion, milk thistle. I'm sure all of this sounds familiar for the liver, even in drops for them to drink. It works very, very well. And I provide you with a detox recipe plan. You have to play a lot with the recipes. You have to enjoy the diet you follow. It's not about this being good, but tasting terrible. It is very important to play around with foods to create tasty recipes with a detox plan. To include a soup, a salad that has many liver-friendly foods. Anti-inflammatory diet, I have told you that it is the base diet. It should be a diet very rich in antioxidants. Do you know that one of the predominant factors that lowers the quality of both oocytes and sperm is the accumulation of free radicals, the oxidation of cells? The colors in the diet are very important. Red, green, purple, orange, I don't care. The more color, the more antioxidants. Okay, it's super, super important. We need to have a balance between fats, the so-called omegas, omega-3, omega-9, omega-6, omega-7. It's mainly about having a balance between omega-3 and omega-6. Most people eat very little fish, and on top of that, they say that, well, if mercury lowers, just remove tuna and you don't have to eat fish anymore. It's very important to consume omega-3. Almost all the supplements now given for pregnancy and before pregnancy will contain omega-3, but I insist that it is a very small amount, and it needs to be increased more through diet. Omega-3. Eliminate, as I said at the beginning, sugars, refined flours, sweets, and be careful with excess dairy and wheat. We already know that the wheat we eat today has undergone genetic modification. The gluten, especially in wheat, has chromosomes that are far superior to ancestral wheat, and the digestion and absorption of that wheat do not occur correctly in the body. It has nothing to do with celiac disease. So, well, we try to consume the least amount of wheat possible. And with dairy, well, this is a somewhat controversial topic, isn't it? The main problem is the caseins. I'm sure you know about caseins. Caseins are the predominant proteins in dairy. And similarly, they have a very large molecular weight. Digestion is not correct. So we will produce an increase in intestinal permeability. And both gluten from wheat and caseins act as food antigens. What does that mean? That the immune system will attack them. We need to be careful. What I recommend during pregnancy is 1 dairy product per day. We are often encouraged to consume dairy, and we need to be careful because the hormonal load from dairy is also quite significant. When we need to regulate menstrual cycles, premenstrual syndrome, and so on, I reduce dairy intake quite a bit, and if it can be from sheep or goat, the lactose content is much lower in Spanish, which is much better. But as I said, in the end, it is the food with the highest hormonal load because it comes from where it comes from. And we need to be careful with its consumption. The beneficial nutrients from dairy can be found in any other food, so it is not an essential food. There are no essential foods, fortunately. Well, I have a problem with dairy. I can't consume it directly, but I say it, right? Someone who is allergic to dairy doesn't die. There are many, many foods where we can find calcium with much better absorption than in dairy or vitamin D or proteins. Rich in polyunsaturated fats, which are anti-inflammatory, effective in fiber. And as I said, we need to promote the consumption of proteins, but anti-inflammatory ones, as DNA is protein nutrients for preconception. Well, you already know these, right? And well, I've put them here a bit for review, but above all, iron, vitamin B, the usual folic acid, zinc, super important, especially in men. Every time a male patient comes to the consultation, I tell him to eat pumpkin seeds, the pumpkin seeds that are also really good. Zinc for the prostate, the functioning of the prostate depends a lot on zinc, and many antioxidants, all the vitamin C, the beta carotenes that will later convert into vitamin A, selenium, magnesium. Magnesium is essential for pregnancy, all the functioning of the uterus, also to regulate intestinal peristalsis, that movement, that constipation that sometimes happens at the end of pregnancy. And well, the whole B vitamin group is very, very, very important. Omega-3, I have already told you before, omega-3 has many functions, but its main role is in the immune system. It takes care of the nervous system, all memory, the neural tube of the baby, of the mom, and as an anti-inflammatory, it is very, very, very important. Vitamin D. It is absolutely mandatory to supplement it. It is very rare for a patient to come to the consultation with good vitamin D, unless they have been supplementing it before or spend their days in the sun. But since it is not common, I myself supplemented it because I had low levels before pregnancy, but I think it was 22. And well, people told me that since I already had a bit of vitamin D, the supplement I was taking for pregnancy was fine, right? 22 is quite low. Pardon the expression for vitamin D. Vitamin D should be at least 40 or higher, okay? In other words, it should always be supplemented. Super, super, super important for all pathologies. Pregnancy being one, to regulate and modulate the immune system, very important for the nervous system, for synapses, the connection between neurons. We will talk a bit more about it, but it also depends on many factors, including the intestines, the adrenal glands, the kidneys, iodine, and of course, vitamin D. Then we need to see if there is an autoimmune pathology or not. But those four factors, calcium, as we know, to absorb calcium, it always needs to be supplemented. Okay. We can favor sun exposure and consume foods like egg yolk and blue fish. Yes, but it is insufficient. It always needs to be supplemented. Okay. Two main factors that affect male infertility are stress. Stress can be oxidative or stress from cortisol production. Let's leave it at stress or toxins. So, we help eliminate toxins from the diet and daily life. We do a liver detoxification treatment and eliminate excess free radicals. That is to say, we need to slightly adapt the patient's current lifestyle and increase the consumption of antioxidants. Antioxidants are important for men, for sperm quality, important. Okay, so what I was saying, increase antioxidants. We have many antioxidants. We can combine them. The more colors there are, the better chance. Lemon is a good food because it helps us both in liver detoxification And for vitamin C, it is an antioxidant and supports the immune system. So it's true that adding a little lemon to water for salads, fish, or whatever you like works great. And zinc, I said it before, I'll say it again. Zinc is essential in everyone's diet, but especially for men. Very important is glutathione, coenzyme Q10. You will hear this a lot. Generally, it is usually supplemented at 10. It is very important for liver function and for cardiac function. In fact, statins, the medication for cholesterol, interfere a lot with coenzyme Q10. So you always have to supplement. You need to be careful with statins. Well, what we mentioned before, managing overweight, especially abdominal fat, which is the one that will be in contact with the organs and especially the reproductive system, so we can have overweight distributed throughout the body. We need to keep in mind one little thing that is not the topic, but since I'm here, I'll mention it. We can have an excess of fat distributed throughout the body, like in the face, arms, legs, belly, whatever, or we can have it very localized, meaning a patient who comes to the consultation with fat mainly localized in the buttocks and legs. There we need to see a little how it works. Besides reducing inflammation and regulating the diet, whatever you want, see a little how kidney rhythm works, the metabolism of the kidney. Okay, very important. And when the fat is localized in the belly, it is abdominal fat. I will always say this because it never fails. There is usually inflammation of the digestive system and overload of the liver. When we have inflammation of the digestive system, there is increased permeability of the intestine. We have an unbalanced microbiota. The entire intestinal mucosa becomes inflamed. The stomach does not digest well, and therefore we will have an overload of the liver. Hepatic metabolism will not be correct, and that fat will tend to accumulate in the belly. So we can put a diet to lose weight, whatever you want, but if you do not treat the digestive system, do not reduce inflammation, and do not regulate the microbiota, it is very difficult for that fat to move. It is very important where the excess fat is located. Key foods for fertility and nutrients are iron, zinc, calcium, vitamin B, magnesium that we mentioned, vitamin D, but it needs to be supplemented, please. Curcumin turmeric, which is very anti-inflammatory, helps to drain the blood and is very antioxidant and also helps to mobilize the liver. Omega-3 that we have already mentioned, selenium as an antioxidant, beta-carotenes are very important. And everything green, well, there is broccoli, which is not often used much because broccoli for me is a star food. Because it helps with liver detoxification. It has a lot.